procedure for this hearing. I can't remember if we did that last time, but I'm going to read it again, just so everyone is familiar with the procedure as we get going, and then we'll get started after I read this. So this is the November 6th, 2024 session of the Zoning Hearing Examiner docket. The case before us is case number ZH20240121. That's 1500 Groesbeck. The purpose of this hearing is to allow applicants and any other parties to testify and to offer and refute evidence and testimony. This hearing will follow the rules found in the zoning code and the supplemental rules of the zoning hearing examiner. All testimony and evidence that an applicant or any other party wishes to offer must be presented at this hearing. The hearing will proceed as follows. The applicant, the applicant's attorney, or the applicant's agent will first present the applicant's case. So for our purposes here today, Mr. Tyree and Ms. May, that'll be your opportunity to tell me about the project, background you think is important, exactly what it is you propose to do, the zoning relief that is required, and of course, why you think the project is appropriate and I should approve the requested zoning relief. You all can orient that presentation however you'd like. One of you can speak, both of you can speak. It's completely up to you. I'll then move to the public. So everyone here from the public will then have an opportunity to speak after the applicants have presented their case. I'll hear from the planning department and Mr. Lashai to provide me testimony in addition to his staff report if he would like. In the event that any party testifies or offers argument in opposition to this application, the applicant will have an opportunity to respond to that testimony that was offered in opposition, and then finally make any closing statements. The applicant will have an opportunity to make any closing statements. After all presentations have been made, I will close the hearing. Decisions may be expected within 2 weeks. I may limit or exclude any testimony that I deem irrelevant or outside the scope of the application being considered. I may interrupt any speaker to ask questions or to make any comments. I may also, in the event of any technical difficulties with the Zoom technology, I'll do my best to try to troubleshoot those issues on the fly. But to the extent there's a defect that prevents us from meaningfully going forward with this hearing, I may continue or postpone the hearing at my discretion. Okay. Last thing I need to do is just swear in all of our witnesses. If you intend on providing any testimony here today, making any comments, asking any questions, really doing anything other than just strictly observing, the zoning code requires that I swear you in. So if that's you, if you could take yourself off of mute now, I'm going to collectively swear everyone in together that intends on testifying. So again, if that's you, if you could take yourself off of mute, raise your right hand and answer out loud. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you shall provide will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
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 Okay, great. Thanks, everyone. All right, who will be taking the lead for us here then on the applicant's presentation?
Gail, I think it'll be me. So, again, everyone, I appreciate the continuance of giving us some extra time for the hearing. As you'll remember from last time, 1500 Groesbeck, the main goal of this project is to increase the amount of parking on the site. It's 130 units, and we only had 45 spaces to start with, and so we're basically doubling the amount of parking there. The only downside to that is there is a connected communities kind of overlay that I guess was passed in July, which would sort of make this hearing necessary in order to get some of that front yard parking to be within compliance. So at the last hearing, before the hearing, we realized that we needed to provide a 10-foot pavement setback along the north property line. We were able to do that. We did, in fact, lose one parking space, but I think other than that, everything's okay from our end. We also looked at the property owner's concerns, and I did see the pictures. I understand exactly what they're talking about, and I would be a little annoyed myself. So especially some of those nighttime lighting photos that I saw. So what we did was on our plans now, we're going to have those lights re-aimed. The existing lights that are to remain will get re-aimed. The new lights will have house side shields, and we've also added along Groesbeck Road, we've added a 2-foot mound and also bushes, so that in front of those parking spaces, there'll be an extra height there and an extra buffer to block the headlights. So we did read the concerns. We do simple We do agree with them, so we did add some extra stuff that went a little above and beyond. So with that, I would appreciate any feedback and what you guys think. So
Okay, great. Thank you, Mr. Tyree.
sure.
Ms. May, did you want to add anything before I moved on to the public?
No, he summed it up.
Okay, great. Fantastic. I'm just going to go off the orientation of my screen here, and so we'll start with Mr. Asmus, and then I'll go to Ms. Royalty and Ms. McCray.
Thank you.
Sure.
Yes, I appreciate the applicant's efforts to address those issues. The lighting, I do feel like, the building code has its own set of rules and regs, and, that would be handled through them. But we do need immediate adjustment of those existing lights. We've been put on hold for too long regarding the lights, and they're adjustable. I've looked at them. They're adjustable, and they're just not acceptable right now. We've been told that this project was underway, and we were, by the management, told that, basically, bud out, this project's a bigger project than parking lot lights. So it'll be addressed at that time. But we all know we're entering the winter. I don't know how aggressively you're going to move ahead on this project as far as starting to move dirt. But in either case, we don't want to go through another winter with those lights. So that's the lighting issue. The other issue is just the shielding of the view from our residences, and it's we for years we've been looking at a large building on a residential street, and but there was a lawn and very established trees. Trees are gone now and prep for this. The lawn is still there, but regardless, looking at a parking lot obviously is a very important issue, even to be addressed in the connected communities overlay. So again, I appreciate the efforts with the 2-foot berm mound, but I do feel like raising that up would be wouldn't it be a great cost issue to raise that up from 2 foot? I'm not going to say what height to go with. And then putting we were pushing, got a lot of support with an arborvitae shrub hedge, a densely oriented hedge that would block view. It's used often in these cases. I forwarded for this file pictures up by Xavier University where they are using it exactly for that purpose. But in retrospect, the trees that you're proposing, the 9 trees, that would be a nice element for the growing season. The boxwood, I would just need some assurance that these aren't going to be some little pygmy boxwoods. That these would be sufficient. I know we're not going to block there's no way to block the complete view of the parking lot, especially from our house, from up above. But making effort and softening all that, I think, is pretty important on this residential street. So I think Carolyn is in agreement with this, that raising a berm some, a foot or two, couple, feet, and then choosing a cultivar of boxwood or arborvitae. I don't think arborvitae are going to work as well with the proposed trees because they do require a lot of sun. And also you can't let up on watering arborvitae. So in either case, I think maintenance is going to be an issue, but that's a whole nother issue.
Okay. So it sounds like, Mr. Asmus, that you would support this if there was a slightly higher mound and some sort of landscaping that provides coverage year round. Is
Correct.
that right?
Yes,
Okay.
we've been saying that all along, that an evergreen,
Yeah. But
evergreen,
without that, you do not support this
I do not,
application.
we do
Okay.
not support it. And I think the council, the community council would not support it. They're sensitive to our needs.
Okay.
And our immediate neighbors would not support it.
Okay. Great. I appreciate your time, your testimony, and your again your time on this matter, thinking about this. Ms. Royalty, did you want to add anything?
Yes, thank you. I would just underscore the need for immediate rectification of the glare of lighting from that property. That just cannot go any longer. And I agree about increasing the berm, I think more substantially. I don't think 2 feet is nearly high enough. And but of course, I support everything that Drew said.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I appreciate your testimony on this. All right, Ms. McCrae,
Hi,
anything
yeah.
you'd like to add?
Hi. College Hill Forum is in support of our residents and our neighbors and their concerns about, lighting on the site, the existing lighting, as well as lighting from vehicles that would be parking close to the Groesbeck Rd area that would then potentially shine into their properties at nighttime. So I'm hoping that the applicant will be sensitive to those needs and also sensitive to, the size of vehicles and the placement of headlights and how they shine at nighttime. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Mr. Tyro, I'll give you a minute to respond in just 1 second. Let me go ahead though and give the planning department, if they would like to provide some testimony, that opportunity. Matt?
Thank you. Yeah, so a little bit of background here. The applicant's been working with our department on this project for, Mr. Tyree, probably at least a year. And the plans were initially drawn up prior to the adoption of the Connected Communities zoning code update. Connected Communities zoning code update was primarily organized around major transit lines and neighborhood business districts. In this case, it's around Hamilton Avenue. And the reason for the requirement that the parking be in the backyard is to promote walkability in new developments and encourage new developments to, they don't have to have any parking at all. So the reason for this is that if you want to have any parking, it should be in the back so that the front door is closer to the sidewalk, more accessible. The zoning code previously and still would require that in this residential zoning district, parking not be in the front setback, which I think is 25 feet, and that there be screening around the parking lot. So the applicant has met those requirements. Again, the new requirement under Connected Communities is really about promoting walkability near major bus lines and was adopted after the project was designed, but before it came in for permitting. So I think it's worth highlighting that.
So Matt, can I ask a clarifying question on that?
Mhm.
Prior to Connected Communities, this was the way it's designed and presented now, it would have been permitted by right, legal by right. There
Yes,
would
the
have been no
applicant,
zoning implications
correct. The
or
applicant,
restrictions. Okay.
yes, the applicant worked through the coordinated site review process and worked with Mr. Sheldon in our office to design a project that was completely compliant with the zoning code at the time.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. And then the Connected Communities passage in July then added on this additional requirement. Got it.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
And yeah, in the last 2 weeks, the applicant has updated their site plan to comply with the buffer yard requirements in the back. And also, I believe, has made an attempt to alleviate some of the concerns that were raised by modifying the existing lighting and confirming that the new lighting would be compliant with the lighting requirements and would be shielded as to not shine into neighboring properties, and has improved the screening in the front by adding a landscape mound beneath the shrubs and the trees. Zoning staff would be able to support approval of the landscaping plan as proposed with the shrubs and the canopy trees, or we could approve it with evergreen trees, as it sounds like is being requested by neighboring property owners. I would be curious to hear the applicant's response if they have a preference, if they would be amenable to meeting the requests of the neighbors, as zoning would be able to approve it either way.
Okay.
With that in mind, following the updates to the plan and all the work that's happened over the last year and a half, zoning staff is happy to recommend approval here.
Okay. Great. Thanks, Matt. Appreciate your work on this and on the staff report. Okay, Mr. Tyree, any response?
Sure. I will say that, let me think about this for a minute. The reason we went with a 2 foot height of berm was to be able to provide then a flat spot for the bushes to sit on, and then we would dive back down to meet grade before we hit the right-of-way line. So I think the 2 foot came from the being able to meet the slope requirements down and not disturb the right-of-way. So that's kind of where that landed. So what I will say is, in front of the sidewalk is actually a curb. So by the time you have a mature boxwood, you would have a 1/2 foot for the curb. Then you'd have a 2 foot mound, roughly. Okay, so you'd be 2.5 feet above, where the wheels of the car are. And then you'd have another, 3 foot above that. So you're 5.5 foot above where the wheels are sitting. I believe a typical car's headlights are
Mr.
about,
Tyree, I'm going to share
yes,
my screen because
sure.
you've lost me a little bit on the curb. Um,
Sorry.
so this is the general location we're talking about here, right?
Right, correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry, could you start that over again with the boxwood in
Yeah,
front?
for I'm specifically talking about the parking that's actually along Groesbeck Road that we're proposing. So um that
The,
parking, yeah, the new parking area would have sidewalk facing Groesbeck Road along the front of those parking stalls. That's actually a combination curb sidewalk that we're putting in. And so what I'm getting at here is that the cars that would face Groesbeck Road would have screening to a height of about 5.5 feet by the time those bushes mature.
you're talking about
Um,
these parking
yes,
spaces here?
correct.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. And so, and then we also have trees in front of those bushes. And I think those along Groesbeck Road could probably be evergreen type trees. I'm not going to speak for Gail. I don't know the I'm not a landscape architect, so I don't know the prices of trees right offhand. But I think though the trees that are in front of the bushes could be evergreen. I don't see why that wouldn't make sense. So
Got it. So
yeah, just
just
know
so I'm
that
clear,
we made the mound as high as we could, I guess is my point, and then sat the bushes on top of those to give some extra screening. So
okay. So we'll have the parking here. Then these little circles are the row of bushes.
correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
And did you say that there would what the height would be from, or the difference would be from, the ground here to the top of these bushes,
There would
or
be
estimate?
about five and a
Okay.
half feet. Yeah,
Okay. And then behind those bushes, you have these trees indicated here,
correct.
which you said you believe could be evergreen to provide more shielding, more screening.
Correct. Yeah, I don't see any
Okay.
reason why. That would make sense to me too, so.
Okay. All right. Thanks for walking through that.
Sure, yeah, thanks for providing the additional, so people could see that, so.
Yeah, no problem. Okay, I think I will go out of order a little bit here and just allow Mr. Asmus to make a comment. Mr. Asmus, did you want to say something?
Yes, thank you. Um, I I'm okay with that. I think our main concern is the visual effect day and night of a parking lot there. And so even though the lights are an issue, I think everybody at times have car lights that just flash in front of people's homes. Uh, you know, uh, that happens, but it's the day and night effect of blocking, shielding that parking lot more from view. And I'm okay with I understand the calculations of the 2 foot. I'm okay with that. I would just encourage a very fast growing and a larger species of boxwood. And then I would stay with the proposed 9 trees, the deciduous trees, because I think that could, that could be a nicer effect for, summer, winter, whatever. And then have that dense hedge of boxwood. Boxwood are pretty tolerant of a lot of conditions as long as it doesn't get down to 10 below.
Okay. Thanks again,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Asmus. Appreciate your comments here. All right, I'll turn it back over to Mr. Tyree or Ms. May to make any further comments in closing or otherwise before we adjourn. Well, I'll out of fairness, going to give Ms. Royalty an opportunity to make another comment as well.
Thank you. I would just like to stress the need for maintenance of these trees and of the property in general. The management has not been consistent about even such minor things as litter at times, although they've done somewhat better in the past few years. But I think the need for maintenance of those trees will be essential. And that's my main comment.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, Mr. Tyree or Ms. May, anything you'd like to say either in response to Ms. Royalty's comments or in closing or otherwise before we adjourn here today?
I might let Gail talk to like maintenance and stuff, because I wasn't sure how long you guys have had control of the property, but I know that there's a desire to obviously make this a nicer sort of, a better living space. So maybe you had something to add regarding maintenance.
Yeah, definitely. It's a priority for us to be good neighbors. I believe shown that in good faith and how we've been adjusting and working through this. So I appreciate the feedback and will continue to just be sure it stays top of mind with the regional manager that oversees the property, and we hold the team accountable.
Anything else from Mr. Tyree or Ms. May before we adjourn?
I don't believe so. I would say that as far as the trees go, we're okay with deciduous or evergreens, either one would probably be okay. So yeah, other than that, I think hopefully we've met the code and we've met the spirit of the concerns of the owners. I think we're gonna have a better product, a better situation than is there now with this project for Beergo and for hopefully for the the surrounding owners as well by default, hopefully. So that's all.
Okay, great. Well, I think we will leave it at that then. I'm going to take some time to just review all these materials and all the testimony before I make a formal decision. I'll say this: if this application is approved, I will be certain to try to incorporate as many conditions of approval that aim to screen and shield and protect the views of neighboring property owners from this from this new parking lot. Whether that is a requirement that they submit a maintenance plan or something else, or maintain in some way those that vegetation. I will do everything I can legally, again, if approved, to try to make sure that there is some continued maintenance and continued screening throughout. When I do reach a decision, I will put that decision in writing. I put it into a PDF, and then I'll email it to everybody who's in the hearing here today. So you all will get a copy of that decision. Those decisions are subject to appeal. If either side is unhappy with the decision, or anyone in here is unhappy with the decision, they'll have 30 days to appeal from the day that I send that decision out. And then it goes on to a different board of appeals to review it. But otherwise, yeah, I think that's about it. I'll email it to everybody who's in the hearing. Again, if it is approved, Mr. Tyree and Ms. May, Mr. Lashide can use that decision to approve the zoning permitting on his end, and then you all can get started or take the next steps. I will do everything I can to get this out as quickly as possible. I know that the applicants and owners have been very patient and worked on this for a long time, and so I know you're anxious to move forward one way or the other, so I will do everything I can to get this to you as quickly as possible. If anyone has any questions about this process, you can reach out to me directly. I'm happy to answer any questions about that. Or if you just like a status update on the decision, you haven't seen it yet, you'd like to know where I'm at, feel free to email me directly and I'll let you know where I'm at status-wise and timing-wise on that decision. Any questions now that I can answer? Okay, great. Well, thanks everyone again. I really appreciate everyone coming together here and being collaborative. And I hope you all have a wonderful day. Thanks again for your time. We are adjourned. Bye, everyone.